Welcome into the latest edition of the Steelin' with the Boys podcast. I am your host, Junior Riddle, here along with my boys,
Juwan Williams.
And no Coach Campbell. He is out for the holidays on Christmas, so it will just be Juwan and I. We are recording this on Monday before Christmas on the 23rd, following Saturday's very, very, very disappointing loss in Baltimore. Steelers fall 34-17. But really, Juwan, it was the minor details that led the score to look like what it looked like. I think you and I chatted right after the game, and both of you and I agreed that it really wasn't as far separated between the two teams as the score would indicate.
Not at all. It's the same little minor mistakes that happened in the Eagles game happened in this game, but it's different. It was a fumble, from the Eagles game. It was the Najee fumble. This game, it was the Russ fumble and the Russ pick, the pick six. So it's just minor things. And I'm not going to blame that we wasn't all the way healthy. But even with us not all the way being healthy, we still had a chance to win the game.
Yeah.
That's both games. So it's just like little minor things that we just need to fix. I didn't think like we was in trouble or, the Ravens are a better team. I still don't see the hype on the Ravens. It's still the same. Like, they're not that much better.
No, I would also agree with that. I mean, coming into the game, no George Pickens. We saw what effect that had in Philadelphia with the offense. Honestly, outside of Russ's 2 turnovers, I felt like the offense played pretty well. So you're talking about them adapting, especially in the pass game. I mean, I felt like Russ had some really good passes in the game, especially going back and watching it and kind of, just getting the turnovers off my mind and just watching the game in general, already knowing what happened. I mean, we were moving the ball pretty well without George. On the defensive side of things, because, I mean, you can really put most of the blame in this game on the 2 turnovers that Russ had. But, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't think that they could have overcome that if not for, the defensive injuries and how the defense was playing. I mean, you're missing guys on all different levels. You're missing your number 2 corner in Dante Jackson.
Number 1 now.
You're missing, now. Joey Porter Jr. goes down on the first drive, came back for a short stint, but he didn't play for about 80% of the game. You also were missing Deshaun Elliott, and that made Minka play up, so we saw a lot of deep passes that Lamar was making that we weren't accustomed to seeing. And then also you're missing Larry Ogunjobi, a guy that not a lot of people talk about on this defense, but is a very consistent run stuffer. And Keanu Benton, as good as he is against the pass and rushing the passer, he's not necessarily the run stuffer that Ogunjobi is. And you really felt that loss in this matchup. So not having some of these guys in the starting lineup, I mean, in total, 4 defensive starters. Lamar Jackson, he had a good game, but he didn't have a Lamar Jackson MVP-like game, in my opinion. Now, Derrick Henry did.
Yeah.
But all in all, I look at this and I say, if we get our horses back and say if we were to see them again, whether, we win the division and play them in Pittsburgh or they win the division and we play them back in Baltimore, I don't think that game would be the same again if they played it again.
Not at all. Like how we said, the minor mistakes is the reason that we lost. And even with all our players out, like our 4 big stars out, we still was in the game.
Yeah.
So I'm looking past this game. Kind of got it out of my head because at first, our first reaction after the game was like we was both like going like it's pretty brutal how we.
Oh, it hurt. I mean, it hurt.
Yeah, it did hurt. But when you actually look at the film and go back and think about everything that happened, we're in a good spot. I thought in my head, I was thinking that, we lost the game, so that means that we're in second place. But we're still in first place.
No, I knew that if we lost, we would still be in first place. But again, the record's being tied. And essentially with us having the tiebreaker and having a game on them, I mean, that when losing that game and them closing the gap, knowing that they have the Texans, who they just lost Tank Dell and they already lost Stephon Diggs, so they're kind of a team that's regressing. You got Deontay, but I mean, I don't think Deontay's going to come in 2 days is going to make a huge difference
against the Ravens.
Against the I wouldn't think so. I think that he's more or less probably going to get that 10-day break, come in the last week of the season, play the Titans, and maybe try and get him going towards the playoffs.
No, they already said he's playing.
Well, he'll play, but I just don't think a guy coming in 2 days is going to make a huge difference. You got to have chemistry, especially with a guy like DJ. You got to have chemistry with him, and the timing aspect is what makes him dangerous. So I look at this and I'm like, the Steelers have to win out if they want to win the division. I mean, I think the Ravens are going to beat the Texans on Christmas Day, and then they got the Browns at home. And, I mean, the Browns have just completely punted on the season. So, really, if the Steelers want to win the division, they got to win both games.
I don't think that they're going to win against the Texans, actually.
You don't think the Ravens?
No, because...
You don't think the Ravens win?
No, because of the impact that the Tank Dell had on them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to motivate them to get that win on Christmas.
Well,
also,
hopefully.
Yeah.
I hope you're right.
Something that that I'm happy that we got out the way, Russ' bad game. Because we can chalk this up as Russ's first bad game as a Steeler.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that he got that out the way.
See, you say that in a macro level. I mean, I would say outside of the 2 turnovers, which again holds huge weight.
It holds
a lot of weight, but everything else he did, it was like, wow, like he's hitting Ben Skoranek in the seam, and oh wow, he's hitting Michael Pruitt for a touchdown, and he was moving the balls. That pass to Calvin Austin on the side,
that was a dot.
That was a dot.
That was a dot.
You know, I mean, he was still slinging that thing.
He still was, but we still the minor
100%.
Because that fumble, I understood what he was doing.
I didn't. I didn't, because listen, Russ is, if this is Russ when he's 28,
yeah,
sure, go for it. But this is Russ at what, 36, about to be 37?
I was in the group chat trying to tell you that.
I was screaming.
But you was pissed at me because I said, man, Fields wouldn't do this. I said that. I said, because I knew what he was doing, because when you look at the play.
Juwan, I was pissed because Fields would not be making those reads and those passes as quickly and as precise as Russ would be.
Now I'm talking about that play.
No, and yes, I 100% agree.
Because when I was watching it, I was like, oh, I know what he's about to do. He's gonna go right. He's gonna go left, and once he go left, he's gonna make a touchdown. If you seen dude was coming, you should have slid or something.
As soon as I saw anybody in the vicinity, even if it was right at the goal line, I was like, you can ask my wife. My wife's family was there. I was like, slide, just slide. And he didn't, because I don't know if I was given the power to see the future in that moment. But in that moment, I knew something bad was going to happen if he did not go down. And it did. Yeah. And I was just down. I looked over at my wife and I said, that is the difference in this game. Because remember, this is another aspect of this game. We have always gotten the Ravens to make mistakes. And we started off the game. They had 2 big mistakes. Lamar got strip sacked by Highsmith, if there's any bright spot in all this, he had an excellent game.
Yeah, he had a nice game.
But we didn't pounce on it. It was right there. We didn't get it. And then the muff punt, Tyler Mikavich was right there.
The two fumbles. And
they had 3 total fumbles, and they recovered all 3 of their own fumbles.
It's the same. I told you it's the same thing that happened in the Eagles game. The 2 fumbles in the first quarter. Wasn't that the first quarter? The 2 fumbles?
Yeah, but we recovered those and didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that if we would have recovered those, or at least just one of those, it makes a difference. It was just the little details in this game. And I gotta tell you, if it were to ever happen, now is the time that you want it to happen. Because, again, we're looking at the injury report now. You know, George hasn't been officially cleared by doctors at this point.
He was a full participant today.
Yeah, but by the time this episode comes out, he might be officially cleared.
Yeah.
Okay? Dante Jackson is back practicing. Deshaun Elliott is back practicing. Larry Ogunjobi is back practicing. Justin Fields, you know, I feel like an element that could have been used in that Ravens game.
That was something else. When I seen Fields out, this had to be like the first time I seen Fields like actually out on the injury report. When I seen him out, I was like,
missed the Giants. He didn't miss the Giants game.
Well, yeah,
so
okay.
he was injured once, but
yeah, okay. Well, to see him like, especially in the game like this where we can use him.
Oh yeah.
So,
I mean, he had that big first down in the Ravens game last time, I believe. You know, the offense wasn't really running the ball and moving the ball in that first half.
Had them out. We had them out there for like two plays in the last 2 minutes. Yeah. So,
because remember he slid short of the first down, and we were all like, "Oh no, he should have got it."
It's the small thing that we can easily like.
And with them, there was rumors about Roquan Smith being out. Well, guess what? He played. You know, Bateman, the wide receiver, he was supposed to be out. Well, guess what? He played. So. You know, their guys that were questionable played. Our guys that were questionable didn't. So with all that, the Steelers let up 400 yards of offense to their opponent in the past 2 weeks. They have let both of their opponents in back-to-back weeks score over 30 points. Does this have you concerned, or do you think with the guys coming off injury that they can kind of hop back and get back to where they were just a few weeks ago?
I think, like just how you said it, I think that them coming back from injury is going to help us tremendously on both sides of the ball, because we haven't scored over 24 points? When last time we scored 20 plus points?
Bengals game.
That was 2 weeks ago?
I believe.
Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago.
No. That was 3 weeks ago because George has missed the last 3 games, and we scored 27 against the Browns. So we had the 44 points against the Bengals, the 27 points against the Browns at home, and then these past 2 games on the road, we had 13 against the Eagles, and then we had 17 against the Ravens.
You know what that tells me? Side note, you know what that tells me? I told you this on the phone. At the end of the season, just give Pickens a blank check. If you don't see out of these last 3 weeks, if you don't see the impact that he has on this team, it's really up there with TJ Watt if we actually being serious. It's up there with TJ Watt. We need him. And you see the difference between when he's on there on the field and when he's not. It's a very big difference.
Essentially the Steelers, because where they were after the Browns game and the Bengals game, where they put up 44 and 27 points respectively, with Russ, they had cracked top 10 offenses in the category of points being scored, right? So you're talking about a top 10 defense with points allowed, top 10 offense, points scored, and that has kind of diminished here in the past 2 weeks. So whether you want to argue, I wouldn't say that the Steelers ever had a great offense this year, but you could say they had a good offense. And I think with George on the field, they're a good offense. With him off the field, they are a very below average. No, I wouldn't even say average. I would say that'd be a compliment to this offense. I would say they are very much so below average.
Okay.
And that makes a significant difference. You have to be balanced in all aspects. We talked about this team being able to win in multiple different facets. And the fact of the matter is the way this offseason went down, you didn't get the number 2 wide receiver that you wanted. And with George Pickens being injured, we talked about it, that if he were to ever go down, we would be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And so thankfully, we're hoping that he comes back either this week, and if not on Christmas Day, we'll at least have him for that finale against the Bengals and then getting ready for the playoffs. But I agree. Blank check, offseason.
Blank check, please, because I mean, I understand we have, I'm glad we seen more Mike Williams this game. Stefanski, is that his name? 15?
Oh, I think it's Skoranek.
Skoranek. He, for the little amount of time because he got hurt. The two first downs that we had, it was nice.
Huge.
Yeah.
He's a good blocker. Really good. I mean, he's the one that recovers those muff punts on the special teams. So, and he's currently injured too. So, I mean, honestly, a lot of people are talking like, well, we need more Mike Williams and less, Skoranek and
Scotty Miller.
Less Scotty Miller. But, Skoranek was a guy that, I mean, he's made a couple plays in these games here recently, and with his ability to block, and he's been on record saying in post game press conferences that, hey, I want to be the best blocking receiver in the league, and for what we're trying to do, a guy like that's pretty valuable. Really good gunner on special teams, always down there trying to make tackles, and he's already recovered a couple muff punts. Like, a guy like that's been important. So, I don't see him playing if he's not practicing still right now at this stage of the week. But all in all, it is going to be something going forward of this team just trying to get healthy, and hopefully the three starters on defense come back. And with all that, there is another injury that we need to be worried about, and that's Joey Porter Jr. I do not think he's going to play. What about you? What do you think?